Gaines, Vice Chairperson. Present. Rebecca Bolin. Here. Sandra Flowers.
Present.
Robert Leary.
Here.
Thomas Phelan.
Here.
Dr. Robert Power.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to report on item 1.4, which is a moment of silence for those who might have died. There is none. Public comment.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Jackson. My husband Mitchell Jackson. We reside at 38 Dudley Ave, which is behind the new Pell School that's being built. Purchased the house with my parents in September of this year. They've owned the house since 96, and ever since they knocked down the old Sullivan School, we've been having flooding issues. My parents were contacting people, but since we took the property over, we have contacted several people about the flooding issues and talked to many more. And inside the packet, I have a short little letter. I'm trying to make this as short as possible because it's been a continuing problem. But inside is like before pictures, after pictures. Backyard's completely damaged, eroded. Our pool has to be resanded at least, and all this stuff. It's a very highly cost. And also Mr. Moniz that works with Ferreira has also contacted us and had us under the assumption that the silk fencing and the hay bales that they put on the back fence would have helped water. But I couldn't understand how it could stop water, so we did research. Inside there you'll see the definition. It's used to stop soil erosion. And the new school's foundation has been raised about 2 feet higher than the Sullivan School's foundation is. So this whole time, every time it rains or anything, it pours right into our yard. And they keep saying that, you know, we're going to fix it, you're going to fix it, but nobody has said they're going to fix my yard. And that's why I'm here, just to voice my concerns. And also, too, our whole street, you talk to anybody that lives on the side that the Pell School's being built, they have problems with their yard. And the other thing is, too, unfortunately, Dudley Ave, once you pass this, if you've been on Dudley Ave, once you pass that stop sign coming down from West Main Road, we have no drainage. So even if someone comes in and takes the water from the back and pushes it to the front, there's no drain on that street to connect the water, because what JAM says, they will connect it into the sewer, so it goes straight into the sewer. There's none on Dudley Ave from that stop sign down, so it's a
it basically runs into the neighbor's yard and causes a
problem there.
And
the whole foundation of the school has been raised, and then our understanding is they're not even putting a drain pipe in the back. If I understand Mr. Moniz correctly, he said something about the soil, and the soil will absorb it at so much rain, at so much. He got into some scientific number he was saying, and I just told him I just don't understand. That's fine. When the school's built, everything will be fine, but as of now, my yard is completely ruined. My kids can't enjoy the yard. We can't enjoy the yard. We can't even enjoy the pool this year, and that was going to be our summer, because buying a house, you know, your money gets a little tight, so our summer was going to be the pool in the yard, and now it's like we can't even enjoy that. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been out there. I know what your problem is. The rules are, though, that unless it's advertised as to what your topic is going to be, we can't respond to you. But Mrs. Gaines, she's in charge out there, along with Mr. Farrar. They know about your problem, and so it's not falling on deaf ears. Okay?
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we jump to item number 4, student activities.
Hi. So, the third quarter ends this week, and students are ready for the fourth quarter. Seniors are completing their senior project during advisories in presenting it. Juniors competed at the Rhode Island National History Fair on Saturday at Providence College. 5 juniors are now going to compete in the Nationals in Washington, D.C., and these juniors are Josie Shaws, Allison Thompson, Elizabeth Jackson, Hannah Dean, and Eric Sola. The spring sports have begun, so be on the lookout for Rogers baseball, softball, track, and sailing. And just a concern that the students were having, and that's kind of been a concern all 4 years, but we understand why we haven't been able to do it. But we were wondering if it would be possible to have a bake sale each quarter as a class fundraiser. For example, seniors would have one during the first quarter, juniors the second, sophomore third, freshman fourth, and it would just be during lunches. And we're just wondering if this could perhaps be negotiated with the cafeteria contract, because they do have a contract and we understand but it is a great fundraiser. It brings in a good hunk of cash for our class, and I'm saying this for the future, not really because of course I'm almost out of here, but I'm just saying
You got 1 foot out the door.
Yeah, so I'm just saying for like the people below me, because I know that was something where at meetings we'd have kids come in, they'd be like, can't we just have a bake sale during lunch? And we'd be like, no, we can't, there's a contract. And that was very frustrating. So there's something.
Mrs. Bowen?
Well, just to address that, it's actually against federal regulations. We can't, in order to meet the Hunger-Free Child Act, we can't allow bake sales during the day.
Really?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had no idea.
Right, so it's more than just the contract.
Okay.
And we have to control what's served during the day, in the cafeteria, and any time during school hours. Outside of school hours, bake sales
Yeah.
could be allowed, but
Right.
not during.
Because we were told that it was just a contract thing, so we were like,
No.
okay, can we?
Gabriel, please pass on congratulations to the 4 juniors.
Oh, yeah.
And what is their project that they won for?
I know that Josie, Allison, Thompson, I know it's because my mom's the teacher, so I know that they did
Well, I
Title
figured you
IX.
should know that. What did they do it for?
Title IX.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
And,
that was a
um,
good one.
I don't remember what but I know that Hannah Dean and Eric Sola were partners, and they did an amazing website. Can't remember what it was on for
Was it
the
a
life of me,
website?
but it was a
Okay.
website,
Okay.
and they did a great job with that. So apparently their presentation went amazing. My mom said so. It was great.
Okay, great.
Congratulations. We'll move on to the consent calendar at this point. Does anybody wish to extract anything from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for approval of the consent.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent calendar? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Action items. First one is bid award, Pell School furniture/equipment.
We have with us Dr. Shoemaker this evening, Andrea White from Point Line, and she and her firm coordinated the bid package and reviewed the bid specifications to conform with what our staff thinks is going to be a great furniture package for the new school. So Andrea is here to explain a little bit and answer questions that you might have. Andrea?
Hello, I'm Andrea White with Point Line Space. I've met you guys before. I think you might have a letter in front of you that basically describes the bid process. We had 9 bidders. Everything was bid on. One bidder was thrown out. They didn't have a bid bond, so we couldn't use that bid, but it was really very small anyway. And then out of all of them, 5 awards, preliminary awards have been selected. Almost every item was bid. This reflects everything selected, low bid as specified. So almost every item in here is as specified. So it's all the stuff that you saw in the preliminary package that I had showed you a couple months back. I think then the other things are very small, and they're almost identical. So, and that's about it. So, we were just asking for approval for preliminary purchase orders. We're in the process right now of double checking all of our numbers and making sure they're all exactly right, but based on our preliminary report and bid tabulation, it looks like $475,921 is going to be about the amount of all the purchase orders that we would need. So it came in under our estimate, which was good. So we expect to be getting purchase orders, the information into the business office to then get it to the city of Newport within the next week and a half so that they can start issuing purchase orders. So we are requesting that the amount of $476,000 be approved for those purchase orders.
Yeah, and the recommendation is to approve the bid award and purchase orders in a dollar amount not to exceed $476,000.
Right.
We just rounded up.
Right.
And I think that the staff will be very happy with the furniture that's been selected. As Andrea said, it is the specific furniture that we review, the cafeteria tables, the tables and chairs for the teachers, the desks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so that's what the motion would be.
Are you ready for a
Yeah.
motion? Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the bid award not to exceed $475,921.95 as presented.
Is there a second?
Well,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
I had 476.
I rounded it up just in
Yeah.
case there was any little tiny mistakes we might make as we review them, because we just received them last week and everybody's going over my numbers right now. So that's why we kind of rounded it, just in case we find.
It's only about $80.
Correct.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really not much different. I just wanted to point it out.
I would change that motion to read then $476,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm going to take Ms. Dr. Flowers' second. It's open for discussion. Yes?
I had a question. One thing, it said that there was a possibility of extra second-grade classroom. Is that, if we were to have to order something, would there be a long wait time?
No, well, the way it would work, we have a clause in the contract. Instead of, there's ways to deal with it, but in in the bid that we put out, we put it that you can increase or decrease the amount by 10% of a quantity of something. So we're going to issue the POs. I think we would like to, obviously it'd be best to know right when we issue the POs if we wanted to do that then, because in order to get that pricing, we would need to, do it before we issued POs. You couldn't issue the PO and then ask them to honor that pricing. So that's how we would have to do that.
But there is a 10% built in?
Yes, so we could add the second grade classroom in the next week, or two, and that would be fine, yeah.
And my second question is, does it come made up, or does it come in box? Do we have to assemble it ourselves?
Everything in this bid package is completely furnished and installed. So we do, in some cases, in other schools, if we're doing very small, like we do science labs, little beakers and that kind of stuff doesn't, obviously, but all the furniture, not only they bring it into the school, they set it all up, they're in the contract to take away all their trash. It's in the contract to protect the floors. If the floors are damp, it's in the contract to protect the walls, the elevator walls. One of our staff is there almost every day to look and make sure things are going, smoothly and stuff. So, and then they take all their trash away because they're not allowed to use the contractor's dumpster. So, should be good.
Seeing no other hands, I'll ask for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item of business is health school approval of playground equipment alternate. Dr. Ambrosi?
Yes, this is the alternate that was from the original bid. We had always indicated that if we got beyond the building in the ground and all the really major concerns with extra costs for alternates, for change orders, that we would move forward with this playground equipment. Now, to refresh everybody's recollection, this is the playground equipment that was developed in concert with the phys ed teachers and the Parks and Rec folk who didn't like the initial playground equipment that was provided by somebody. So I wouldn't want to name the name of the companies.
So this is money already approved?
Oh, it has been, this school committee has said that this was an ad alternate. The Buildings and Grounds Committee has always been in favor of this. They discussed this as being an ad alternate. The last Buildings and Grounds subcommittee meeting, And this is just something that we always had hoped that we would have the money for, because you couldn't imagine opening up a school without having a playground when you're having a $30 million project.
So entertain a motion as to approve, what, 222,000?
Correct.
So moved. Second.
Okay, you got to move second. Any discussion on the item?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Larry?
I'd just like to have Dr. Ambrosi review our contingency fund, how much we have left after this.
Can we hold that until after the vote?
Sure, well, that may affect how I vote. In other words, how much money do you have left in the contingency if we take this 220,000?
It was approximately $500,000, Wendy. I think that's what
That's
was
about where we
presented.
stand now.
Correct.
Not counting the furniture and the playground equipment.
Yeah, counting the furniture and playground.
Right, that's
equipment,
already
yeah.
been deducted
Correct.
from it.
Yes.
So we have $500,000 left minus playground, minus the furniture we just approved.
Well, the furniture is $50,000 more than the original, so we would have about $450,000.
250,000, okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? It's approved. Next item of business is approval of a capital campaign program. I think Dr. Power was the one who brought this issue to the table. You want to talk about it?
Well, there was a discussion at the building committee about having a capital campaign to raise money for an endowment program for technology in the building. And I thought, we should have a discussion at the school committee level about, that going forward.
Could you make the motion you want? You have a specific motion?
Yeah.
What do you have?
Make a motion to approve the capital campaign program for the support, maintenance, and improvement of technology to Fort Cal Elementary School.
Is that your motion?
It's my motion, yes.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's open for discussion.
May I?
Yes, Mrs. Gaines.
I would wonder if we might want to use the word endorse, because this is a citizens committee that brought this forward, and it's not something that would be the responsibility of the school committee. We simply would look for the endorsement and the support of the school committee in this effort, because it would look kind of strange if we were out there, raising money, and then someone from the school committee said we didn't need it. So
Will you accept that amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
I think endorsement would be better.
Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Lee?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if I can support this. I'm a little concerned that we told the voters we have everything for the school, and we do have $450,000 left in the contingency fund. So I know Mrs. Gaines' wording is very good, endorsing is one thing, the way it was. But I also have the concerns that we did this at Thompson, and there was $1 million raised for doing some things. I think it was the wiring of the building, and then a few years later, wireless came in and it was all obsolete. And money in that fund never came back to the school committee. It went to I believe, the Newport, what Mrs. Gaines?
Newport Education.
Education Foundation took over that money, and it had nothing really to do with that raising of it. So I have concerns where the money would go if we didn't, if we didn't use it all. So that concerns me a lot before I vote for this thing.
May I address that? The Newport Education Foundation is simply a holding place for the funds that were raised. And I think either last year or 2 years ago, Dr. Ambrosi, when there was a need to upgrade the technology at Thompson, I think we drew some 68,000, was it?
We drew a substantial dollar amount from that.
From that fund. And the people who talked about creating a foundation and raising funds did it because technology is constantly evolving. Dr. Ambrosi mentioned that we're not going to order our equipment until the very last minute, because every week something comes out that makes last week's issue obsolete. And there's the constant need to keep upgrading. The bond issue covers the current building costs. It does not go forward
to maintain the building. So I see a need for us, in the way things are going economically, to always have some source. We want to get individual tablets for students. We can't afford that without public funds. So I think it was a good idea. It didn't come from us. It came from the community, people who want to give. So I think it's the least we can do is let them do it.
That is true. I was at the meeting, and then I was surprised because a community member said, what are we going to be doing for support of the Pell School? Like Mr. Leary, I understand that we promised the taxpayers that this would be a soup to nuts program, which it will be. It will be. That's why when the suggestion was to make this for technology for the future, I thought that was an idea that I could embrace as well. So, but we'll have some technology. We'll have all furniture. We're working with the city on the tree issue and the tree organization. I spoke with someone today who wants to get together with us to see about donating some trees. So it will still be a community effort.
Dr. Flowers?
I agree with what Mrs. Gaines said and what you just mentioned, because it's, I'm going to say it's a surprise, but it's certainly very pleasant that people in the community who are not part of Newport Public Schools want to step forward and collaborate and work with us. And this is it's just wonderful, it really is. And in addition, if we are fortunate enough to come in under budget and have a reserve, I think that's the proper use of the word, there's nothing wrong with that, because you never know when something's going to happen.
But don't count on using that reserve. That is bond money
and
for building and furnishing the Pell School.
Exactly. So if something is needed,
left over, I don't think we can just tap into that money.
No, that's what I'm saying, that you never know what is needed that comes under the building, the needs of the building. So the fact that there is something remaining, we shouldn't scoff at it, but I think it's great that the people in the public, and the fact that if we endorse this, is certainly a good move to endorse the wish of some people who want to help out.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to answer another part of Mr. Leary's question, the rest of that money that was raised has been invested at Corrigan Financial through the Ed Foundation, and the plan is in about 2 years after they've made, there's been a little bit of return on that the interest from that money will be coming back to Thompson each year. Whatever they make on that money will go back to them for technology.
Okay, seeing no other hands, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Next item is meal rates, 2013/214 school year.
No, skip one. Strategic plan.
Strategic plan.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is, I put this item on because Mrs. Gaines and I were busy and we couldn't communicate. And we have produced a strategic plan from the year 2010 to the year 2015. And we haven't opened it up since 2010. And we both agree that we need to review that plan. So in hoping that maybe we would do some of it tonight, I put that on as a bookmark, but Mrs. Gaines has some other ideas, so I defer to Mrs. Gaines.
I had asked for a date when we could call this group back together for an update. Did you come up with something?
No.
Okay, then I think we need to set the date. So get your calendars out.
We need to make sure Dr. Nasbo is also available.
Is she here?
She's here.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, we need to check
yeah.
with her as well.
That means you too. So
It's kind of dead time.
I would suggest that we do early May, because April is half gone already. And
May the 7th, Joe, is a Tuesday, and it's the first Tuesday, so that should be okay for people, I would imagine.
It's fine for me.
What time do you want to start?
5?
5 o'clock would be great.
May 7th?
May 7th.
5 o'clock, take about an hour.
Can we do it here?
Yeah, we can. Can't we, Wendy? Yes, we can do it here.
And we would call all of the subcommittee chairs
Yeah, just the subcommittee chairs, I think, rather
to
than,
come in and be,
yeah,
Right.
talk about it.
Well, I
Right.
think it's whoever you identify as the responsible person after each
Yeah.
of those.
Right, yeah. And that's usually the
So at what time again?
5.
5 o'clock, May 7th.
I guess that doesn't need a motion, so we'll...
No,
No.
Okay, 6.5, meal rates.
well, the federal government is requiring this, and if you looked at the documentation and the backup information, we still are well behind our neighboring communities in what we charge for free meals. And Ms. Boland can talk about this. We discussed it. Dr. Flowers and Mr. Leary were also at the Wellness Subcommittee meeting. We discussed this at that point in time, and this is it. I mean, it's not as though we have a choice.
No, each year, I mean, we knew last year when we raised it 25 cents that it wasn't going to still be enough, and so we can see that we're still far behind. Basically, what they're trying to do is not get the children who receive free lunch. We don't want those free lunches subsidizing the children that pay for their lunches. So you have to have them equaled out so that the cost of the free lunch and the cost of the paid lunch are close together. And so the federal government's given us a few years to do this, but part of the problem is that every year the federal government increases the reimbursement, and so it's going to be always trying to play catch-up on this. So it may be that for, a few years in a row, we're going to have to do this. And
Mrs.
I don't
Gaines?
see any way around it.
Do we have a count of information related to how many paid lunches as opposed to free and reduced are served?
Yeah, it's well over half are free lunches.
Oh, yeah. I think it's close to
like
66%.
two-thirds,
Yeah, I think it's close to 66 to 70%.
But each year we've increased, for the last 2 years now, increased the number of paid lunches, which is good. It's something you always want to try to do. So Chartwell's has done a good job this last year getting that number up.
Okay, that's good.
Seeing no other hands, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Excuse me, I don't have a motion.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I need someone to make the motion to increase breakfast and lunch prices for 2013-14.
10%.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yes.
Mrs. Bellamy, you want to make the motion?
yeah, I'll make the motion. I'll just have her read
Okay.
it. And then-
All right, so Ms. Boland made a motion to increase breakfast and lunch prices for 2013-2014 as follows. Rogers High School and Thompson Middle School breakfast from 120 to 130, and lunch from 225 to 235, and elementary breakfast from 85 cents to 95 cents, and lunch from $2 to $2 a tip.
So moved.
Second. I'll take a
Question, if we don't,
Before you discuss it, second?
I thought you had a second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Question, if we don't pass this, what happens?
We have to. I mean, we were told that every year this has to be moved toward an equitable position.
And
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
my question is, if we have to, then why the heck are we voting on it?
Because you could increase it 20 cents, you could increase
Or
it 30
if we
cents.
didn't raise it, then they would blackmail us and cut us off? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
It's
So they should
one of
just-
those things
so they
like
should just tell us
race
to
to
do
the
it.
top and the
Yeah,
this
but
and the
just they
that.
should tell us to do it, and so, which case
Yeah,
we don't.
but
have
don't
anything.
forget, this is always your option. I mean, you could choose to do,
yeah,
you
with
know
the
what,
gun to your
yeah,
head.
I understand that. I understand
I'm
that.
sorry.
But they could say, we don't want to do that because you could raise it 20 cents, or you could raise it 30 cents. All they tell you is the end game.
Yeah, but they're telling you what you have to do.
Of course.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You notice in the documents that we got, how Newport's fees, or the costs, is so much less than our neighboring communities, so we're still rather modest in the cost.
But we're still doing what the government wants. They just did it quicker than we are doing it.
But I'm just saying that
So it's the
it's
same
not
thing.
even up to that.
We had held the rates flat for so many years.
I was one who wouldn't vote to increase them.
Yeah, I don't think anybody yeah, right.
I will add one more thing. I do believe that we need to get that piece of information out, though, to families before the beginning of the school year with some explanation. So maybe that's something the Health and Wellness Group can do, is try to write a letter to explain what, why it needs to be done.
Mr. Fallon, will you write the letter?
Yeah,
just
right.
teasing. So at any rate, yeah. And again, it's one of those situations where we don't have any choice in the matter. And when people get upset that there's an increase, they get upset with us locally, not understanding that it's not our ballgame, it's theirs.
Another option is for the district to make up the difference, and that's not an option, so.
Yeah, that's.
Because basically, your food service program has to be self-sufficient. You can't run a deficit.
Okay.
Mr. Leary?
Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Boland, I know, because I'm at the meetings, you're there. Why don't you, for the viewing public in the audience here, explain our reimbursement rate that would really maybe go to the point?
Okay, what it is this year?
Yeah.
It's $2, for every free lunch, we receive $2.92, okay? And right now, and we also, for every paid lunch, we receive an extra 26 cents. So, and also there's an extra 6-cent reimbursement that came through because we meet all the federal requirements. So when you've got to average those two out to the real price of the lunch. So you can see that if we really were serving a lunch that was $2.92, we would have to really raise that price up. But we tried to average them so that they meet in the middle.
And would you explain the snack program and the breakfast program? Or would you like me to do it?
Well, the snack program, that's an after-school program, and we get reimbursed, I think, 80 cents, it's close to 80 cents for a snack, 78, maybe 80 cents. And we're supposed to be starting a supper program very soon, in which we'll be serving supper to those kids. That was approved a while ago, but we've run into some glitches. And that's going to be, once again, that'll be open to all kids that go to after-school programs. We'll get a free meal in the afternoons if they go to an after-school program. And that'll be for all of next year. That's for Thompson and for the elementary schools. And then the breakfast, we don't really have too many paid breakfasts. Most of those are children that come in the morning that need breakfast, and that runs, I think our breakfast is like $1.20 or $1.30 that it costs us to make that breakfast. So.
No other comments?
Did you get a vote?
Not yet. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Was there opposed?
Yeah, Tom.
Okay. Next item is a resolution concerning parental involvement. Those of you, many of you are aware that we're putting a lot of emphasis on early education, and some of us have been working with Head Start, some of the early grades, and Jennifer Jackson brought this to our attention about 2 months or 3 months ago. She had one of your kids was in Head Start, then moved on to first grade. And she was concerned that there was a lot of parental involvement at the Head Start program. However, once she moved into, was it triplet?
It was actually Middletown at that time. We went from Joe Peckham into Middletown and now we're over at Cockshell, but
But anyhow,
Same concept.
she was distressed that her involvement that she had in Head Start seemed to be ignored, and she had problems relating or getting into the school, and she wanted to help. So we started to discuss it, and we started thinking about, with the new Pell School, maybe this is a good time to, try to get more parental involvement. There's several people in the room here who have been involved in these discussions. Samantha, was it Thrive by 5 you talked?
Yes, it was the Thrive by 5 meeting.
She was going to get up for about 30 seconds. 5 minutes later, she was still going strong about how this thing was good. Amy, likewise. And so we've continued to have these discussions, and it looks like there's quite a bit of effort to try to get a strong parental involvement as we open up Pell. I don't think our role as a school committee is to dictate how that's to be done. I think we've got principals in the back of the room who have their own ideas. We have others. But we are, and the school committee is involved, sort of indirectly through myself and some others. So I'd just like to have approval of this resolution.
I move approval. I move approval of the resolution, but I don't want to talk after.
Okay, I'll take a second.
Before we second it, can we just talk about maybe the one little bit language that says there seems to be an effort? Could we have better, stronger language that says there is an effort?
We need a second so we can discuss it.
No, I second it.
I'm amenable to something like that if you wish. We're okay. What line do we want to make it?
The line that says, whereas there seems to be an effort to plan and implement a program, I just, maybe we could get rid of.
There is an effort.
There is an effort. Yeah, that strong effort.
There's an effort underway or something.
An effort underway.
There is
to have a stronger piece of language there.
That's fine.
Yeah. So strike seems to be. There is an effort.
Yeah.
Mrs. Gaines?
I would just like to invite Mrs. Jackson to talk to Christina Ruth before you leave tonight. We're on a mission. We're looking for parents to serve on the governing board.
I do all of his committees with the Head Start right now. I'm on numerous committees.
Yeah,
It just seems
this-
like I can't get into the public.
Well, this will get you in. Okay. Big time.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Any more discussion on the item? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now, we're still on.
To these two policies, yeah. There are two policy recommendations that emanate from the fact that we need to conform with requirements of the CHIPS program. The CHIPS program is a program that supports energy efficiency, and if we meet certain criteria from this program, we will get an extra reimbursement from the state. I think, Mrs. Gaines, we're going for the 44%.
We are, with these resolutions and these policies in place, we'll be at 44%, and that's the maximum that you can achieve in the state.
So we're asking that these two policies be approved under first reading, and then the absolute next time we meet, we should have the second reading so we can include this with our packet that has to go to the
state.
RIDE,
Our
to
final
the state.
review.
Yeah, and this is just one little piece of all the stuff that we have to do for CHIPS.
So I'll take an entertain motion, maybe merge the two motions.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It's open for discussion. You're the policy person. Dr. Flowers, any comment?
No, it's just that we
have to do it.
Yeah, we need to do this. The language was provided by the architect, so it's exact to LEED standards, and it's something we have to do if we want credit for being self-sustainable building, and we're there.
Is there a deadline date on that?
Yes.
Well,
It was like yesterday.
They want the whole thing by May the 1st, but they said if we get this to them, we'll send this to them that it's been if the school committee wishes to, we will send this to them saying it's been approved first reading by the school committee, and then we'll just do the addendum next time around.
Yes,
I'm sorry, Bobby?
Mr. Chairman, I know, obviously, you got to support this, but whole thing's so stupid. I mean, they're telling you they have to do it. Now we got to put it in our policy? I mean, we got to do it, we got to do it. I mean, just do it. Why we have to put it in our policy to get this? I don't understand.
That wasn't good enough. I can give you.
It wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I'll give you a litany of all the things that I've done that didn't have to be in policy, all the letters and the curriculum that had to be developed for energy. This has to be in policy, Bobby. I mean, that's, we asked them, we said, can I write a letter saying we do this? Could it be an administrative regulation?
Just as easy to
And the
do it,
answer was
yeah.
no.
No, just do it.
Just seems so stupid.
Yeah, just do it. A lot of things.
It is what it is.
Mr. Field?
It is what it is.
I'm going to abstain from this just because I can't vote for it. I'm not against it, but just having them tell us we have to do something, it's another thing. Let them just tell us to do it and don't vote on it.
Well, you know, Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Gaines?
we're asking for $30 million.
Yeah.
And certain things have to be done in order to procure that $30 million. Now, if it means changing the policy to agree with state standards, I don't see where that should bother anyone. This is not a policy that's going to bring harm to the district or harm the kids. It's going to elevate our status as being green. And everybody knows mercury is poisonous, and we're simply saying we will not procure anything with mercury.
Things would be kept.
It's the classic, Mr. Phelan, it's the classic, he who pays the piper calls the tune. They're paying for this, they're calling the tune. And my thoughts are, as Mrs. Gaines said, there's nothing wrong with this anyhow. So if they want it in policy, why not do it in policy?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Is that for both policies?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Item 6.9 is a second reading, and I'm going to call on Dr. Flowers to explain the essence of this.
I'm pulling it up now, just a second, please. Okay, this is the recruitment and appointment of the superintendent, and this is the second reading?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the second reading where we had deleted one sentence, and the sentence was talking about initial contracts, and subsequent extensions shall only be approved during the final year of the contract. And the whole discussion was that really ties the hands not only of the present committee, but future committees. And this just makes things much simpler, that's all. And we had the first reading already.
So you're going to make that as a motion then?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Phelan?
This makes it simpler for the new superintendent coming in, not for the school committee, if I understand it correctly. It's for the new superintendent coming in, not the school committee themselves in negotiating.
Well, this would help subsequent committees?
Well, it does, but it does in the wrong way, because we're basically, in a sense, helping the superintendent in the sense that the contract won't have some parameters before we go in. There was really no reason to change what we're changing right now, except for the benefit of the new superintendent in one form or another.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
5-2, I think.
4-3?
4-3.
Okay.
4-3. I think this concludes the action items, am I not mistaken?
It should.
We go on to discussion items. First one, 7.1, presentation Newport Family and Child Zone. You want to introduce?
Yes, Christina Roof is the manager of the program, but that's not her title. It's not manager, it's director, I think.
Right.
And I see you have your staff with you, so you can introduce the staff. But I had asked Christine to come and tell us a little bit about what goes on with family services. Newport Family and Child Opportunity Zone. I know we spent considerable time coming up with that name. But this program started maybe 20 years ago as a cozy, and it's still a cozy, but it's all yours.
Okay. Thank you for allowing us to present tonight. We're really excited to be here. I'm very excited to have a couple of parents here tonight as well. It just makes it feel that much more relevant that we're here presenting about this tonight, so thank you for being here. I have several members of our staff here. We have Nicole Sylvia, who's our supervisor of the Family Service Coordinator Program, along with she wears many hats. She oversees the CARES program, which I will tell you a little bit about, and she also is one of our site coordinators for our 21st Century Community Learning Center program at the Underwood site. We have Lori Russell, who's our Family Service Coordinator at the Underwood School. Samantha Brins is our Director of Quality Initiatives. We have Margot Pyers, who works for East Bay Community Action Program along with the rest of us as our health advocate. And we have Rebecca Rosen Gomez, who is the Family Service Coordinator down at the Cranston Calvert School. Our other two Family Service Coordinators were unable to be here tonight with us. Lori Feddersen wasn't feeling well, so she left, and Mark McKenna wasn't able to be here tonight. So, but they're with us in spirit. So the Newport Family and Child Opportunity Zone, many of you may know us originally as the Sullivan School Family Center. We were established about 19 years ago as part of a statewide initiative to develop child opportunity zones in areas of high need, schools of high need across the state, and basically to support the children's success in school. Currently, there are 10 child opportunity zones, and as Joeva said, we really played around with when we found that we had really expanded, and we were no longer just providing services in the Sullivan School, and we knew we really needed a name change to represent who we really were now. So we really played around a lot with our name and really wanted to stick with our roots, which is a child opportunity zone. The concept of a child opportunity zone is what people are now hearing today as full-service community schools. It's the same general concept of providing supports and services in the school. We are housed in all 4 elementary schools currently, and we'll be moving into the new school once it opens up in September. And we provide supports and services to families with children actually between the ages of birth all the way up through the end of elementary school. Our programs focus on children's learning, social emotional supports, and parent support and education. We work to help develop social and emotional competencies and resiliency, build protective factors, and improve parent engagement with schools. We know how important it is for parents to be engaged in the children's education, so we work really hard to help foster those relationships. Coordinating services for families, assisting with transitions, and addressing truancy issues are some of the things that we do. We are actually a program of East Bay Community Action Program. It's a decision we made several years ago to become a component of EBCAP because we really felt that that would provide a lot more supports and coordination with the wide variety of services that EBCAP has to offer. And we really work we work very closely with Newport Public Schools to have a seamless sort of wraparound for families, coordinating services with the school day, building off of the school day. And so some of the types of services that we offer are early childhood services, which has 4 main components: home visits, connection to resources, parent group meetings, and screenings, a variety of different screenings that we do with our young children. We also provide school-age services. We're working in all 4 elementary schools to provide comprehensive after-school supports, academic programs, cultural, arts, social, emotional, a whole variety of programs after school. We do school vacation camps. We actually, in your packet, there's a brochure about our upcoming STEAM camp, which we're really excited about. And then we also offer a summer learning academy in collaboration with Newport Public Schools. So we provide somewhere around 28 weeks of after-school programs, 2 weeks of camps, and 6 weeks of vacation, the summer learning academy. So comprehensive services offered throughout the entire year in collaboration with the school district. We're funded through state, federal, local, private, and district funds that help us to provide the array of services and supports that we offer. I wanted to mention a little bit about our governing council. Joe Eva mentioned, and Jennifer, I definitely will give you a call. Our board is made up of a variety of individuals. We have representatives from the business community. We have Joe Eva is on our school committee. We have Dr. Nasbo and Dr. Bean is on our board. We just recently recruited a new group of parents to serve on our board. So we are going to be welcoming them to our first meeting coming up this month in April. And we're really excited to have parents involved. We actually have recruited a parent from each of our elementary schools and would be happy to have more than one from each of our elementary schools. And we know that's important as we move into the new school to make sure that we have parent representatives from each of the sites. So to talk a little bit about the Family Service Coordination Program, and then I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, who will fill you in a little bit more on sort of the day of a life of a Family Service Coordinator. The program began back in 1992, and it was part of a program called Project REACH, which was a national demonstration project that was funded through the National Head Start Public School Early Childhood Transition Demonstration Study, big mouthful, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And part of the focus, and Dr. Power, you remember this very well, I'm sure. You were very involved in this program, was to support and ease the transition from those really key important transition times from preschool into kindergarten and then elementary into middle school. And one of the pieces that still remains today, here in 2013, are the Family Service Coordinators working in each of our elementary schools. They are provided through a collaboration with EBCAP. They always have been since the beginning, and they're under the Newport Family and Child Opportunity Zone umbrella. The program is funded through Title I dollars, McKinney-Vento funds, which Nicole will explain a little bit more about, and we also are utilizing some of our Community Learning Center funds to help support that. So our Family Service Coordinators are working in our after-school programs also as another point of contact with our families. In your packet also, just to kind of let you know what else is in there, I just gave you a brief, some statistics from last year, just to give you an idea of some of the numbers served in each of our programs. I'm happy to explain more detail about that if you'd like. And I think this is a good time to turn this over to you, Nicole.
So, thank you again for having us. So just one correction, when Christine said we do birth through elementary school, we actually serve through grade 12 with our McKinney-Vento grant. But I'll get to that when I get to McKinney-Vento. A typical life in the Family Service Coordinator day. So 8 to 8:30, they come in, they greet the students and parents at drop-off. That's their initial contact for the day. The parent, lets the Family Service Coordinator know if there's any issues that they might need to pass on to the teacher that they can't, get into the room for any reason, or anything that's going on that they need to touch base with the school about. 8:30 to 9:30, in that time frame, they check attendance with the secretary, make phone calls to absent students to see why they're not at school. This is done in conjunction with the secretary. So there's that group of students who they're following for truancy or attendance issues. Those are the kids that they're going to outreach, phone calls, home visits, or however they need to get in touch with them to find out why they're not in school. The secretary will call all of the other kids. 8:30 to any time in the day, really. They transport students in needing a ride to school, and that could be from them making phone calls or the parents calling in saying, Johnny missed the bus and can you come pick him up. First chance after attendance, they check in with the building principal and teachers to see if there's any issues that need attention that day. And then anywhere in their day from 9:30 to 3, it can go in any number of directions. Communication, either by phone, face-to-face, or home visit with parents and families around any number of things. Parent support, lice, teacher concerns, home visits, attendance issues, transporting parents to school meetings, making referrals to community agencies and serving as a liaison between school and community, catching up on paperwork and referrals, basic human needs, including food, clothing, jackets, shoes, glasses, medication. That's going to pick up the prescriptions and getting them filled, not taking them.
You were the parent.
Community meetings, professional development, we'll have them attend trainings as relevant to their jobs. planning evening events for families. As Christine mentioned, from 3 to 4:30, all family service coordinators are part of the CLC after-school programs at the elementary school. This is for seamless delivery of services, supporting student successes, and it provides another point of contact for FSCs and parents. All FSCs also facilitate programs regularly throughout the school year. They do transitions for kindergarten students coming into school at the beginning of the year. They do a transition program to middle school for those fourth graders going to Thompson at the end of the year. So our McKinney-Vento grant, we call it CARES. It's Children Accessing Resources for Educational Success. We have that grant in partnership with Sharon Carter's Newport Partnership for Families. I'm sorry, there's so many. So the FSCs work with the McKinney-Vento grant to provide support to any homeless student in their family during the housing crisis. The support is offered to any student enrolled in Newport Public Schools that is considered homeless by definition. So that's pre-K through grade 12. Definition of homeless would be living in a car, truck, RV, campground, or other site without a fixed nightly residence, staying in a hotel or motel, doubling up not on the lease, where it is jeopardizing the other person's housing. So if I move into Christine's house, where she owns her house, that's not really considered homeless because she owns her house, so I'm not jeopardizing her housing. So it would have to be, you know, like Newport Heights, Festival Field, those kind of housings. Staying in any type of homeless shelters or transitional living arrangements. The CARES program has the primary goal of keeping students in school of origin whenever possible to provide stability for the student during the transition. Other supports include basic human needs, tutoring, camp or program fee assistance, and referrals to community agencies to assist in meeting the needs of the families. In your folder, Christine has included this green sheet. This is just a snapshot of the statistics that the family service coordinators report to me every month. So we just did it in columns by month. And it just gives you an idea of the number of home visits, phone calls, face-to-face contacts, and written contacts that they do each month, the number of referrals they do each month, and the number of events at all of the elementary schools each month.
And how many are there? 4?
There's 4. There's 1 at each elementary school.
There's also a brochure in there that just gives an overview of the Family Service Coordinator program, and I pulled up there was an issue brief that the Rhode Island Kids Count did a number of years back, way back in 2000, but I thought it was interesting because it gave a little bit of an overview of how the Family Service Coordinator program began as part of Project Reach. It will blast from the past, but I thought it was relevant.
David's about to have a heart attack.
Sorry. Sorry. I thought it was relevant to the discussion to include that information, and sometimes people like to read a little bit about the history, so that's in there as well.
Charlie, I have a question.
Yes.
So, I mean, kind of the obvious question is next year, we're planning to go from 4, like that's maybe in the general plan at this point, to go from 4 to 2 family service coordinators. How do you see this affecting the job you do, in the schools? Because, I mean, I'm concerned at this point, how that's going to work.
Nicole, do you want to join me up here? We can tag team.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you look at the total contacts that the family service coordinators do each month, it's going to be difficult. We're going to have to streamline our services if we have 2 family service coordinators and just figure out how to get, really work in conjunction with the building principals to figure out how to best serve our families. And, we're going to have to prioritize the job description to figure out,
Well, 'cause I want to point out that we used to have guidance counselors too, that maybe did part of that job at one time years ago. We also had, we went down to 1 social worker.
I don't think we ever had, I don't know.
We did.
Do we have elementary guidance counselors?
Yes. Right, but I'm saying, but these are kind of the services that have gone away. I'm just concerned, we also, social workers gone down, one social worker. Not that they take the place of a social worker, it's just that they can do some of those issues. If a child can't find his left shoe, he's not coming to school. And, I don't know that people understand that, but that's a huge issue. And somebody's got to go out and get the left shoe, go out and buy him a new pair of shoes, or he won't be at school until parent receives money, from the next time they get their check or whatever. So those kind of issues are, really like outstanding and something we got to think about when we decide to cut these services back. So, anybody else?
Was Samantha going to do anything? Are you just here?
I don't think I should get up there because I tend to talk a bit too much.
Thank you, Samantha. Because I know Samantha, and she does tend to, and since it's just 10 minutes, right?
Yep, no, we're good. If anybody has any questions for Samantha, feel free to ask, but...
Sorry, Samantha.
She's just a wealth of knowledge.
With affection, you know that.
Mr. Leary? Mr. Chairman, thank you. Could you, I don't expect you to do it now, but could you break down your funding for us? How much money from federal, how much money from the state, how much money from local, how much money from title, how much money from grants?
Overall, our overall budget or the Family Service Coordinator budget?
Probably everything, if you do it, but we got to look at that, and then probably Family Services will be part of that, am I correct?
Yes. I certainly could. I don't have that information with me today, but I'm absolutely happy to do that, yes.
And I can get more specific information as to the district's local and federal funds. I forgot the McKinney-Vento.
Right. As far as the Family Service Coordinator budget, I have a little bit of knowledge of that, but the overall, I'm happy to provide that. I can.
21st Century Grant, everything.
Everything, yep.
And I might add, since, we have two great community partners. We have the Child Family Opportunity Zone, and we have Newport Community School. So next month, Newport Community School will come and tell us a little bit about what they're doing. So great partnership with Christine and her folks, and we were there with the transition to Dennis Roy and EPCAP. We think it's worked well for you, we hope.
It's worked out very well.
And we appreciate all the help you've given. I know when I'm here at 5 o'clock and Wendy is here with a little kid from the North End whose parents have not picked them up, how many times have we been through that,
And we're happy to provide those services.
And it's great, because we tag team. I don't allow any youngster to drive home with one person, so we always go together. And Ms. Russell, where were we? It was like 6:30. My wife was livid, and it was a Friday. Was that a Friday night?
Friday night.
It was a Friday night.
6:30.
It was horrible. Yep, never mind. But again, the family service coordinators are a great support to the district.
I have one more thing, Charlie. I just wanted to mention, when we went on the incredible tour of the new school, we noticed that the Family Service Coordinator's office is like kind of centered in the admin building, and we forgot to put a door in between. I don't know if you realize this, but we noticed this, that there's no door to link the two sides, and so it may be something we have to look at, because you're going to have to go all the way around.
Maybe too late.
I know.
This is something I thought we already been.
No, I know, but I don't know that it ever was thought of, but I'm just saying it could end up being a concern. You're going to have to put a window, you're going to have to put something in.
I don't know.
They'll make it work.
Yeah,
We always do.
I'm sure. Yeah.
If nothing else, we're great problem solvers.
But the truth is, we thought about having a space for you, and there's a space for you.
Yes, and that's what makes our program so successful.
And how many different schools would have that kind of relationship with an outside partner?
Being on-site in the elementary schools makes a world of difference. So I would like to close by just thanking you all, Joeva, for being a tremendous support on our board, all the school committee members. We thoroughly enjoy working with you and appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight. Thank you, Dr.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Bauer.
Just a historic perspective, when we first introduced this concept into the school system, principals were saying, well, what would I need this person for? And, you know, we've come a long way, and we got down to the point, we did have elementary guidance, and at one point, there was some choices that got made about, you know, what services stayed and what services left. And, you know, today, I think you hear, you know, people saying, you know, what a great asset they are and all the things that happened, but I'm going to tell you, when it started, it was, why do we need them? You know, today, it's kind of evident why we need them, and I think you guys have done a tremendous job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Need more good news like that.
Okay, you want to talk about shared services, Newport County School Departments? Dr. Power?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just asked to have this put on the agenda because I think that we should be having some discussions with Middletown about, you know, some areas that we may be able to share services. Just a couple examples. I think that we could probably look at maybe early childhood and maybe talk about, is there a possibility of Newport, Middletown doing something from early childhood center? You know, technology, we have people that do technology things here in the district. Middletown has some people that do some technology things. When I was at the School Board Association meeting, it appears that they have some things that we don't have, and we have some things that they don't have, so maybe there's an opportunity to share some resources there. And I also thought that maybe we should have a discussion about, you know, what we could do as far as, you know, facilities management and those kinds of things. I just think we should sit down and say, you know, here's some stuff we're looking at, here's some things we're doing. There's some possibilities that we could do things together in this. You know, if the future is going to be at some point that, you know, these districts, you know, and the numbers at the high school are getting lower, and I know that people don't want to talk about, you know, regionalization. But if there's going to be a discussion about, you know, doing things together, we could start with some things that maybe make sense, that are easy to do. Maybe people get comfortable with that concept, and then maybe we move on to some of the more difficult topics. But I'm just putting it out there.
Mrs. Gaines?
I totally agree. I can think of a lot of things that we could share with Middletown. The conversation around early childhood, in spite of the economic factors, is really heating up nationally and statewide. So we're going to be doing something with those 3-year-olds come maybe within the next 5 years. And I would see working with Middletown to be quite an advantage for both communities there. Because the money's not going to get any looser, but we're certainly going to be increasing services. So we've got to find some way to work together. They have a great virtual learning program. I don't know if we could share some of those and maybe be able to offer our kids more choices. But there are lots of things, and we got to start somewhere. But we need to start talking about working together. It's time.
Any other discussion? I think somebody's got to come up with an exact plan, though. We discuss it now and don't pick it up for another 6 months, we're not going to move forward.
Well, we got to work together.
Would it be possible to, maybe someone's just saying it down there, but would it be possible to have a representation from our committee and Middletown's getting together to generate some thoughts on this?
Well, I got to tell you, as far as interaction with Middletown on Head Start, any of you who are really familiar with it, Jennifer can tell you that we're essentially merged as it is. The program, the kids go back and forth between Newport. The speech therapists go back and forth. So, you know, at that level, and I can tell you from baby steps, we get an awful lot of people from Oxbow. So a lot of it's going on. It doesn't really need to be. And I can, having spent 3 years trying to regionalize.
I think Charlie's got a bad taste in his mouth about regionalization.
More than 3, Charlie.
It was 5 years.
And a lot of money, too.
Took a lot of money.
And time and effort, early morning meetings, Dr. Shoemaker.
So why don't you tell them what happened? What was the results of that?
Early morning,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm not suggesting, you know, regionalization. I'm suggesting that there are areas in the school department
collaboration
that we could collaborate with them and potentially, you know, get better services for both of us. And we need to have that discussion, you know, or we can just kick the can down the road.
Let's just ask for a meeting with them and see how far we get.
You know, I think it's appropriate that I reach out to the superintendents of both school departments Middletown and Portsmouth.
No, Portsmouth is
This is on tape, Ms. Gaines. I mean, we have to...
I'm sorry, but we went through this, and Portsmouth made it clear that they were not interested in that effort. So Middletown is just a walk away, and I think it makes sense that we should be trying to do something with them.
That's fine. I just want to offer an olive branch to the superintendent.
Okay, I'm just glad to see some action. The superintendent said he would contact...
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
He would contact the superintendent at Middletown and see where that leads, so...
And then get together and
Right.
talk about it.
You never know, it just might be the right time.
Next item is 7.3, which is selection of a new superintendent, the process. I don't know if you people, do you have the detail on this?
People out there, we do.
There's pages here about the scheduling. Do you guys have, do they have that, Wendy? Is the audit?
We didn't make extra copies, right?
Okay.
What happened to the press?
It's,
Meg's here.
it's on
It's
public
coming back.
content.
Anyhow,
We can give copies to the
Yeah, it is
press
on public content.
to let them know rather
Yeah,
than
it's on
reading
public
it.
content.
we have started the process. We first step was to hire an agency, and we selected NESDEC, and their point person for Newport is a retired superintendent by the name of Dr. Benedictus. He's been very experienced. He's had something like 25 process of selecting a superintendent. And it's a long process. It's about 6 months, so you can't get too many under your belt too fast. So he really has quite a bit of experience. The thing, if you've ever met him, he's a listener. He has tremendous patience. And he walked us through this schedule, which is very detailed, and it looks like the key points are, well, I'll just mention focus groups, which will be in May and June, a community screening committee, which will do a screening in July, followed by a school committee doing their own interviews, with the idea that we would select a candidate by the end of August. Let me just tell you about the focus groups. We do not have that in our contract with them, but he has suggested that we use them, and it sounds like a good idea. He had suggested one focus group would be with the school committee, another focus group with parents, another one with teachers, maybe a community. The school committee is going to have to make a decision, balance the cost of these focus groups versus the number. These focus groups will be with Dr. D. Benedictus without any school members being present. So you'll be allowed to, you can say what you want when you get there. And he's going to take the results from each of those focus groups and try to formulate a profile of what we're looking for. The next step will be this community screening committee. This will probably be a committee of about a dozen people. And he suggested that if you or anybody in the public, it doesn't have to be a school teacher, it can be anybody, wants to be part of that, send us a letter, and I ask you to send it to Wendy, and let us know that you're interested and why you're interested. We'll then push these in that, we'll set up pools, those who are maybe teachers, those who are purely community, well, I don't know if we're going to have students, but different pools. We'll probably have about 10 different pools, and then we'll, by lottery, draw one name out of each pool to generate this committee. This committee will work for 3 straight days, probably, of evaluating each of the candidates who've submitted their names. And they'll take that list, hopefully of 20 or so people, and try to get it down to a list of about 6. And that list will be sent on to the school committee, which then will make the next step of selecting one superintendent. I'm open to any questions. I'll try to get this printed out so everybody gets a copy of it. Yes, Mrs.
I have two comments. One, I think we, inadvertently maybe left out where it says that, that 5 groups were suggested, school committee administrators, teachers, parents, and a community group. I think with the teachers, we'd also talked definitely about Council 94 being, in there with somebody so that they have representation. And then the second thing is, I know that I asked on item number 8 that we relook at, it says here that it was, this calendar was adopted by the committee as follows. But remember on number 8, I asked specifically if we could move those dates because of, that's my family's vacation, and it's the most important thing we have to do. It'd be hard to explain to my kids that I can't make it on vacation. So if we could, I'm back on the 9th of August. So we just need, if we could move number 8 to the,
Well, it's not only your vacation, there are other vacations that have to be
Well,
considered.
right, but typically, always, it's been that there's a school committee break between July and August, and that's why we don't have a July meeting, and it goes all the way to August the 14th, so.
That I know personally, I've got a conflict, so,
Okay, so we need to discuss this, but it just says here, this was adopted by the committee as follows. There was never any adoption by our committee. So I just want that to go on record, and then we need to put this on and adopt a different, I will ask that we move that schedule in, so that amenable to everybody, but.
So we have to find a date that all 7 of us are free.
Right, so. Right, and that's what I'm saying, but I just want to make it clear that we did not adopt this, so we need to find it,
I took that off of the schedule he presented.
Right.
Okay.
We meet next week, right?
What's that?
We meet next week with him, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe this is a suggested schedule. This
Yes.
wasn't, this was what he was suggesting. I think it's going to be dependent on a lot of things, how the process goes forward, who the candidates are. I mean, that could change all of that.
So when we meet with them, we can be prepared to say we have obligations at certain times, and then, X out on the calendars when.
Right, that's something.
That can work out, yeah.
All right.
This obviously is not, we don't have regular meetings in July, but this is obviously
I
different.
don't remember July when we didn't meet.
Right, but.
I know, that's it. The past few Julys, we've been.
Special meeting here.
No, yeah,
special meeting
Okay,
there.
I'm going to move the agenda.
Yeah, if I one quick comment, I'd like to not patronize you, but you did a nice job 7 years ago when you did this. I feel you're very competent in doing this right now again, Charlie. So, I just want to let you know that, I feel like you did
Just for those who.
You did okay.
Jeez, damn with faint praise.
Oh, you did a nice job. She was chair last time, went through the whole thing.
Gets a little bit sticky in the sense that I don't have a good secretary at all home, and so we're having Wendy be our secretary now.
Who's an excellent secretary, by the way.
I just want to make it very clear, though, that we're making a very clear distinction between Dr. Ambrosi and this committee. Usually Dr. Ambrosi sits on and participates in other committees. He's not
involved.
He's not involved here at all. I just want to establish that firewall. Okay.
That's true. Just find somebody, okay?
Next item, 7.4, suggest Mr. Leary's. Bob, you want to talk about?
I can give Bob an update on that.
The title is Business Office Staffing Update.
Okay, I talked with Mrs. Tracy again yesterday when I got back, and what we're going to try this time is we're going to try to advertise for an accountant, and we will do it. We will do it after the 15th. We could probably start doing it now because it's close enough where they're going to be available. She believes that when we had the title coordinator, it scared some people off, or it had people apply who were more concerned about getting a foot in the door in schools. So evidently the candidate pool that we were getting may not be the candidate pool that we were looking for. So we will be advertising this once again. We will change the title to Business Office Accountant, and we'll take a look at the duties again, and we'll go back out. and we all agree that that there's some extra support needed. Bob?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I suggest we also try to reach out to Bryant and URI, where we have people graduating those degrees?
Hadn't we talked about experience?
Yeah, we do want a little bit of experience, but...
Well, I'm thinking they have alumni. I mean, it's, you know, I'm not talking about
right,
fresh out of school, but you know, they've got a network of people that are graduating with those degrees.
We can take a look at sending stuff to their placement office, because that's what happens a lot, Bob.
Yeah, but
Okay.
both URI and Bryant have those degrees. So.
Yep.
Actually, Mr. Salvi does too. I have two interns right now.
Okay.
I have two interns doing taxes with me.
So we'll do Salve too, because they're right in our backyard. But again, 3 to 5 years experience, I think. We were hoping for more than 5, but let's take a look at what comes in the door this time with yet another change, because this is like the third time we've changed this. So we're hoping that this time is the third time's the charm. Okay.
Next item is 7.5.
Swipe cards.
It's a request for proposal for swipe cards, Rogers High School and Thompson Middle School.
We are continuing to move on that. Paul Fagan has met once with, I forget the name of the firm, but he's to say, Yeah, good, sign it. Okay, good, Mrs. Gaines. So, and he met with them once. It evidently is very complex at Rogers, so they're bringing in another group to take a look at Rogers and Thompson to see what the implications would be. Thompson, evidently, initially, huge dollars. Excuse me, Rogers, huge dollars. Thompson, not so much.
70-some doors at Rogers.
So right, there are a whole,
That's ridiculous.
It's amazing. So we are moving forward with this, and as the school committee directed. Paul is meeting with another group who will do an analysis about the doors and how that would work. We need to have cameras, but we're all set for Pell, and the low-hanging fruit may be Thompson. Just Rogers is just huge.
It's a horror show.
But as I promised, once you made the determination that this is the direction you wanted us to go in, we've been moving on it. Okay?
Next item is AESOP, Automated Substitute Placement and Absence Management System.
Yeah. This is basically a system that's utilized for people to call in to let us know whether or not they'll be in, so we can either get a substitute or we know to charge their absences under certain accounts if they're going to a ride event, or we charge it to that account. If it's vacation, it's charged off against their vacation. If it's sick, it's charged off sick. So there's an interaction between this program and our personnel system, although it's not automatic, is my understanding, with the Lawson interface, which is really a pain. So it is more difficult than an automatic situation. So we get the information, then we have to translate it differently to Lawson. Isn't that correct, Joan?
That's my understanding.
Yeah. So, but Bob wanted to know, and I tried to explain, and I did explain to Fran, what Bob wanted is sort of a histogram. Okay, how many of our teachers are out? Not at all. How many 1 day, how many 2 days, how many? It doesn't give us the ability to get that information. Whether or not we can purchase an additional module, I don't even know about that. But if you want us to take a look at that, we can. But right now, we can't get the information other than an individual, how many times they've been absent, and that's what we can do now.
So we can get a quarterly report of individuals, how many each person been out, I assume then?
By individual.
Yep, you know somebody's out 10 times, 2 times?
You could get 300 and some odd folks. But there's no ability to compact it, not using names, and doing what you and I had discussed that I thought you wanted to find out. You know, let's say, how many people were absent over 10 times, and give you a number. It won't do that for us, which would be, I understand.
Maybe I'll come in tomorrow and we can contact them and see what it looks into doing that, because there are some people that are out 0 days, and that's a compliment to them, you know. And we have some that are out probably 70, 80 days or more. And that's a shame. And I think we need to address that as a committee.
And we do know those people who have become substantial offenders, and well, I don't want to say anything more than that.
But we don't hear
We
about
also
it.
personnel issue.
Yeah.
So you're going to, Mr. Leary?
I'll stop in tomorrow. If not, I'll do after taxes. I get a chance tomorrow. I'll stop in, maybe contact Boston, see if we can go from there. See if I can find out what I can get for them. You know, see what it takes to do, like emailing them or whatever, what it takes to do, like monthly reports or quarterly reports, things like that from them, you know.
Well, obviously, this is what our contract provides now for ASAP.
How much more do you expect to spend on this?
Oh, then maybe nothing. I don't want to spend anything.
No, you don't want to spend anything.
Just want to know what it.
Oh, good.
Right.
Well,
So if Fran was out today, I don't know what she'll be tomorrow. So.
Item 7.7 is scheduling of school committee subcommittee meetings. Mrs. Boland put this on program. Maybe she'd like to talk about it.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, historically, there's 7 people on the school committee, and it tends to attract people to run for office that are retired, just due to the nature of how, you know, the work. But some of us aren't, and so it's really important that we make sure that we schedule meetings so that they work into everybody's schedule. And most subcommittees are only made up, well, they have to be made up of 3 or less. They can't be 4 people on it. So I'm just reiterating that it's really important that, you know, that once somebody identifies the schedule, and even if you're not retired, whatever that schedule might be, where you have, you know, things that restrict you from coming to a meeting, that we abide by those. Because I know that when Hugo was on, that was a huge issue, and I know that I didn't really support him the way I should have, and he was unable to, you know, to hit these meetings. So I just want to make sure that we all, you know, are aware of that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Maybe I could make a suggestion, like we said, for the, working on for the new superintendent. If simply, maybe when we meet again at some kind of a time, we just put down on a sheet of paper the days that we are locked into other obligations, because while some of us might not be gainfully employed, we all are doing a lot of things. So we can I can just say, hey, Tuesday afternoons is kind of shot for me, or whatever, and then we'll know how to, it's bound to find some hours when we can all meet.
Right, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, we'll go on to item 7.8, Rogers High School graduation requirements, an update.
Yes, we were asked to provide this information. As you know, the state of Rhode Island has established a high-stakes test for graduation. It becomes most problematic in the area of math and math proficiency. We have about 38 students who are at level 1 for their proficiency in mathematics. We have a plan in place which we are implementing.
What when you say 1? What is
that's the lowest, not proficient.
Substantially below.
Yeah. So they're youngsters who are in need of
remediation.
Remediation and advancement, and we were told that all there has to do is be some improvement from junior year to the retest. So you can see the plan that we have in place, which has already been implemented. Youngsters are coming out of their advisory periods, and they're getting extra math. We're going to be doing things in the afternoon. We're doing things in the summertime. Next year, there's going to be additional class requirements, I believe. Right.
have to take a numeracy class.
So,
And what
Jackie, if you're going to, thank you. Dr. Naspel is helping to spearhead this along with Dr. Booth and Mr. Nelson.
What I find is extremely positive about this process is that the counselors have contacted all the families. They brought in all the students who are affected by this. They put in what they're calling student progress plans, and they are having both the principal, the counselor, the advisor sign off on this, acknowledging that I'm going to help this student graduate. The student themselves are signing this contract, and the parent is signing this contract, so that they know that they're 2 days a week. They're going to meet with the math, or we have 3 students with ones in reading, so that they're going to meet either with the reading teacher or the math interventionist or with the math content area teacher 2 days a week after school. They're going to be pulled into numeracy classes if they're already not there. They're going to be taken out of advisory to be given time on computers to use. Department of Ed has developed what they're calling virtual math units, and they've developed these, and we can, at no cost, sign up our students who have ones to avail themselves. So during advisory, they're going to be doing that. They're going to be using Study Island, which is something we've already purchased a couple years ago, so that there are plans that are in place that everybody has bought into. So I think there's a great oversight on this, and everyone's aware that the stakes are very high. So I'm positive that we're going to see some really good progress this time. Yes?
My concern is this, is that every grade level we've looked at, 3rd, 8th, 11th, and in between, have the same curve in terms of proficiency. And I just am concerned that we're to put a Band-Aid on the kids who are in 11th grade when you've got kids failing in 9th and 10th grade who are going to be 11th graders next year. You're going to have the same problem all over again. And tell me, is there an overall plan at this school?
I absolutely think that there is. And I also believe that...
I mean, is there or isn't there not?
Yes, I believe there is. And I think one of the things that...
I want to know, is there a plan in place so that we don't repeat the same problem?
I believe that this is such an evident problem that no one's going to be able to avoid it. I also believe that if you look at the data, the NECAP scores from last year to this year, the number of kids that received ones went down by 8 points, and that we're
trending the right way.
We're trending in the right direction, and no one's going to let go of this. No one.
And the other thing is, don't forget, with the Thompson redesign, we redoubled our efforts for the basic math and reading.
They put in a new math series at the middle school. They're now beginning to reap the results of the math at the elementary level, and I think that our scores, in general, are trending in the right direction. And I don't think we're going to let go of them.
Excuse me, but I've looked at the scores, looked at them last week. And let's not fool ourselves. We still have, in many of the subgroups, only 1% are highly proficient, maybe 30% are proficient, but the rest are not. And, they may be improving scores, but bottom line is, most of them are failing as far as being proficient is concerned.
I'm not standing up here saying that anyone in this district is satisfied with the scores, because we're not. We are not. And I think that since this year's juniors are so affected by graduation that kids can no longer blow these exams off. I don't think that anyone has an understanding that this is going to go away, because it's not. And so I think that there is a realism that this is going to happen.
There were some other changes that we made this year. We made some changes in the math curriculum in terms of freshmen, in terms of the algebra.
Yes. I see, again, people, I'm coming to the table really late. I mean, this was Carolyn's job up until a few months ago, so curriculum wasn't on the forefront of what I'm
what I understand. I do know that Dr. Booth and I met with, for this plan I'm aware of, simply because Dr. Booth and I met with the high school people when they put this in place. So I'm familiar with this plan. In terms of Dr. Shoemaker's question about what to go forward, that is something I will bring back to Jim and say that you would like to see. What is your plan for the district going forward? And I certainly, and I know Dr. Booth will certainly be, will have that at the forefront of her agenda. Yes.
Well, I, like Dr. Shoemaker, have a real concern too that we're, we're going to be repeating ourselves next year again. We know that, we're not going to bring all these kids up. But what some districts have done is eliminated things like the kids taking pottery. And so they've taken that their elective, and they've doubled up on math for those kids. I know they're doing that in Pawtucket. And so it's something to think about.
For high school kids.
For high school kids.
Okay.
That did come up at the meeting that we had with Jim. In terms of doing it for this year's kids, it would be difficult because of the schedule, because of the rolling every 3 days and trying to get them into schedule, getting teachers to be able to teach it. But certainly going forward for a district plan with the change in the schedule, there are certainly things that you could do.
Because you can see the kids that are already,
Absolutely.
So I think that that's something that I'd like to see us maybe look into.
I think as a district plan going forward, that's reasonable.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, one question.
Yes.
Dr. Nasbo, if you could, I don't have Roger's schedule with me, so sorry, I don't know exact minutes, but I know Rogers has a tremendous amount of time of common planning time for the teachers. So could you guys step in there and start working with the teachers during some of that time?
Working with the teachers in what way? I know during that time they use, some of the time is professional development time, and that they actually do that. They have common planning by the department. They will write curriculum. They're involved in, say, Dana Math and rewriting the algebra, geometry and algebra 2, and then during the common planning time that they have as a department, they roll that out. Those people who are writing it roll it out to the rest of the math department, because they only have one meeting a month otherwise. So I do know that the professional development time they're using it, they're also involved in formative assessment PDs. So in terms of the amount of common planning time, I haven't looked at that in a while, but I'm sure that we could get a schedule of what it is they do during that time, because they also have to keep track of what it is that they do during that time. So Jim could probably give you a really good report on that, if you were to ask him. And I can ask him if you want me to.
No, I was just thinking in relation to doing some work with the math during that time, the math teachers and...
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think they do some of that, but I think we could take a look at it again, Bob.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Dr. Flowers says...
No, just... When you said that the kids, the students, are not going to be able to blow off the tests, and I think when you said it, and right away, we kind of thought about this. This happens all the time. We talk about math instruction, we talk about reading instruction, we talk about writing instruction, and Christine and her people gave a good presentation about really showing some of the difficulties that the youngsters themselves and their families are facing, and by extension, the teachers are trying to get the kiddies in and to teach them. Put this all together, there has to be a connection. There has to be. And again, I'll say it again, I'm speaking from experience, but it takes a while to convince some students, not all of them, of course, but some that, hey, those tests are important. We talk about it's on your permanent record card, but it's true. And these are important. And we see long lists on the honor rolls, so the kids must be learning something. But do they feel, well, the test is not part of the grade? So maybe that's a small part, but it's an important part of getting through to the kids themselves. That's part of that, that little combination of who's responsible for youngsters' education.
Do you remember when you had that conversation with the students that Dr. Ambrosi called the AP students together and said to them, how come you're not getting the scores that you really need to, and we're paying for this? And some of them said, listen, probably shouldn't pay for. We could pay for it ourselves because we're probably going to do better if we take that responsibility. So I think
Yes.
a lot of this, when you talk about the teachers, you need to understand that I believe as high school students, they have a responsibility for their own education.
The higher
And
up you go, the more responsibility
you
you
can't
take,
always
yeah.
hold the teacher responsible for that. That's
can't
all.
do it for
That's all
them.
I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
Item 7.9, Language Arts Series Adoption Update.
As you know, or I assume you do because you've seen some information about this in the past, I believe, we have piloted 2 elementary reading series. And now we have reached the point where the reading teachers and the staff are reviewing this. They will be presenting information to the Curriculum Steering Committee, and this Curriculum Steering Committee will provide a recommendation to me, and I will in turn provide a recommendation to you, because this really is a curriculum issue. It also is a financial issue. I'm hopeful if given the leeway to be able to negotiate the best price. I'm hopeful that perhaps both of these 2 series are close enough. The initial price for one was $325,000. I've already met with those folks and talk with them about sharpening their pencils or allowing us to purchase the series over a 3-year period. I've got another meeting with the other reading series publishers. I think it's either next week. We're still trying to move forward on this, but like everything else next year, so much of it is going to be financially based, and it had always been my hope and dream that once we were in the new school, we would have the standardized math and the standardized reading program. So we are moving forward in that direction, and we are hopeful we will be able to do implementation for all the kids, and then have a multi-year payment to whichever publisher gives us the best deal.
I'm confused. It says you've been piloting.
2.
So they're ready to make a decision or not?
Right. They are now ready to make a decision or a recommendation to the Curriculum Screening Committee. Okay, then that Curriculum Screening Committee will give a recommendation to me, and I will give a recommendation to the school committee. But in the meantime, I'm trying to get the most, and I will tell you exactly what I told Dr. Booth and Dr. Nasbo today. I like Chevys and I like Fords, but I prefer Fords, let's say, for the sake of it. I don't want to get anybody upset with Chevys or Fords. I prefer Fords just for the sake of it. But then I find out that Chevy has a great deal on the Malibu that's going to cost $10,000 less than the Ford. Now, since I don't care that much, I think they're both great cars, I would go with the Chevrolet because it's going to cost me $10,000 less. So those are the kinds of things that at this point in time we sort of have to consider. If the committee says, oh, well, you know what, this is the difference between a BMW and a Yugo, the car. The little joke there.
You don't know?
You never saw the Yugo?
Something you wouldn't drive, Mrs. Gaines. Something you wouldn't drive.
At any rate, I only said that because they don't make those anymore, so I wasn't going to offend anybody.
No, you can put one into your trunk.
So obviously we go with the BMW. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with now. So as far as I know, there's not been the presentation to the Curriculum Screening Committee yet, but it is my hope that we'll have something on board for next year.
So next September, we'll just have one program.
That is my hope, and And if we can't do it that way, then we would have to bring it on incrementally, and we'd have to take a look at how we want to do that, whether or not we want to start it in kindergarten and first, or start it in fourth and third. I mean, those are the kinds of discussions that we'll have to have with the professional staff.
No. Charlie?
Yes.
Okay. You said it was your dream. Well, I think don't let the dream go, because that city council told us if we ever needed money for something specific, to come back and see them. So I've been hitting them up, at meetings, and we're going to make them hold to their word, because there's no way that we should, that I want to see us doing this incrementally or not buying the entire package so that we can do it right the first time. So just keep that in mind. We need to count on the city council to come through for us on this, because it's really needed.
But remember when they said that, and then at the last time when we all got together, we don't really have enough for our own budget, so don't bank on it.
So at any rate, my hope is at the very least we could do it over, Ms. Bowen?
Yes.
Over a multi-year period. In other words, they could give us everything now, but we could pay out.
For it.
Because as I told the firm that came to visit me 2 weeks ago, I said, listen, the interest rates are zero now, so, think about that. So they're going to think about it and get back to me with some concepts.
Next item is the Pell Elementary School Ride Priority Plan and update.
We submitted, we had an initial submission of the priority plan update for the Pell School. As you know, this was not due to all the schools all the elementary schools being in need of improvement. It specifically focused on primarily on Sullivan at Triplet, and secondarily, and to some extent, lesser degree, Cranston Calvert. So we objected to being called the Pell School in Need of Improvement, but they did ask us to do a plan that was delegated to Caroline Fry to complete before she left, and we received information from RIDE that they didn't accept our plan. So I asked Dr. Nasbo, Dr. Behan, Dr. Booth, and Ms. Donnelly Roach to assist me in meeting with the RIDE folks and figuring out what they needed to make our plan approvable. There was so much in terms of the specificity that they were requiring that it took a lot of effort and energy on the part of these four ladies and fine professionals to get the plan in. Basically, I understand it's in an approvable form at this point in time. So I want to thank them for this. It was a very difficult process, and there was a lot of give and take with regard to this, because I think that sometimes RIDE doesn't understand the financial constraints that districts are under,
They don't care.
Well, and there was I don't want to say there was blood on the wall at that meeting, yeah, Mrs. Gaines, but it wasn't a whole lot of fun, right, Dr. Nasbo? So I just had to say, we if money were horses, beggars would ride. I mean, we don't have the money to implement this thing in terms of, and we're talking about a BMW or a Cadillac model. It just isn't going to happen. But we are doing things in a creative way, I believe, to address these issues.
So this is what we see here.
That what you see here is acceptable, is my understanding. Yes.
It's stage one.
Yeah. But now we've got to go back and put more information on. But we didn't get approval from stage one. We got a rejection letter, which was relatively harsh, right, ladies?
Yeah.
Said it was the worst submission they'd seen.
Oh no! Oh my gosh!
So.
May I?
Yes.
Chairman, I feel I have to say something in defense of the department.
And why is that, Mrs. Gaines? Oh, come on here.
After all, they gave me a new iPad.
Okay.
That all it takes?
No, but seriously, there are some districts that simply are not trying, and it makes it tough for those districts that are trying, because when the specialists look at what's been submitted, they are not looking at the heading on the stationery. They're looking at the plan itself. And when it doesn't meet the specifications that they have clearly set out, they're going to trash it.
And those specifications?
And that's what happened.
Those specifications were given way back?
Way back.
Okay.
Way back.
Yeah.
They were no surprises.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, I guess.
Sullivan so-called triplet will probably not be in existence after June 30th.
It won't be.
And by that time, you'll go into phase 2 plan. Why are we doing all this work when the school won't be in existence?
Because they're requiring this. We argued with them with regard to our need to develop this plan. But they came back and said, we're not going to make you a school in need of improvement, but we are going to ask you to do this plan because the youngsters who previously attended the Sullivan School will be in the new Pell School.
And they need the services.
And they need the services. So that was the compromise position that we were able to get with RIDE.
Remember, it's about the kids.
So that's what happened with that, Charlie. Initially, they wanted to have us open the school as a school in need of improvement, and we objected to that.
Okay, yeah, some good news. Pell Building Committee, Mrs. Gaines?
Well, take a drive-by. The brick is washed down, the windows are almost all in. I think we've got maybe just the tower left. The curbing is going in the parking lot. It's going to be done in another couple of months.
I think we had to walk through it. That was, what, 3 weeks ago?
No,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
And I got to say that what Jim Farrar had depicted as far as the completion and where they was very, very accurate. And I find no discrepancy between what he told us and what I saw. So I felt very assured. We'll move on to expenditures and revenue report. Dr. Ambrogi?
Yes, obviously, we remain concerned with regard to this year's budget. We have a projected deficit of $377,982. We continue to look at that. We do have monies available in the transfer to capital, which I'm suggesting we not transfer to capital until the very last minute because I really don't want to end the year in the red. That being said, we will continue to drill down to make sure that every last penny is accounted for, and then sometime in the month of June figure out whether or not this dollar amount holds, and if it does, then I would suggest we don't spend any of the transfer to capital. And I know that causes heartburn with everybody, including me, but sometimes the operation of your home is more important than paving the new driveway. As long as there are not health and safety issues, which we have to do, we're going to try and wait on that. Additionally, we're hopeful to do some revisions and updates for the revenue side. We finally got information from the Rhode Island Department of Education regarding what we can charge for tuitions to NACTech, and we're getting the bills out. I quite honestly think it was amazing that we're 3/4 of the way through the year, and they did not give us the info. I'm sorry, Julie, I'm going to talk about them again.
I just got there.
Yeah, okay. So this wasn't Mrs. Gaines' fault. We haven't gotten information on the tuition allowable for the Career and Tech Center until, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yes, and the bills went out the next day.
And the bills went out the next day. Whether or not we get them back in a timely fashion, who knows? So we are working diligently to end this year's budget in the black, and we will keep you posted. As you know, there's been a freeze on all non-essential expenses, which has been implemented by the business office. I've not seen anything passed to my level that wasn't either from federal funds or something that had to be paid for. Next year's budget becomes even more problematic. We're viewing about a $1.2 million structural revenue deficit. We're also viewing an additional, and this is before the reductions, because there will be reductions in staff as promised to the residents when they pass the bond. There will be a reduction to staff, but if there were no reduction in staff, there would be an additional $1.25 million for salary and benefits, and so we've got a swing of almost $2.5 million going into next year's budget, and that's just salary, benefits, and revenue reductions. So we're going to be looking at that. The salary costs are increasing 3.8% because people go up on steps. 2% increases, but people go up on steps. Healthcare is up 4.7% across the board. So difficult times, difficult decisions, and we will be working on that diligently. Next week is vacation week, and Miss Tracy and I will be joined at the hip. And look at her smile. I mean, she's really happy about that, I'm sure.
Will we have a special meeting dedicated to the budget?
We will, and as soon as we, she's promised me that things will start moving quickly. We've got everything in place, but we just need to put it together. The big item was salary and benefits, and we have the basis for that. Now what I do is I back out the positions that aren't needed. Okay. So that's everybody currently employed, rolling up salary and benefits, $1.25 million additional, and that includes the retirees' benefits.
Next one, you keep going, 8.2.
Can we comment on that, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I think some of this, we should have known that $500,000, for example, is error money that's gone.
Correct.
So we should know that's coming next year.
Right.
And the committee made some decisions, and that is what it is, to spend an extra $750,000 this year on staffing that we probably could have used now. Now, it's hindsight's easy to say now as a Monday morning quarterback, but that is what it is. But I think you got to take, obviously, as you said, Dr. Brogy, your money is in your staffing. It's nowhere else, you have to look at that going forward. We got to take a serious look at that next year,
Now you want to
Enrollment reports are listed. No damage to the buildings this month. And if you have any questions about the superintendent's update, there are 26 items.
I move we accept the reports as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That's it. Wow.
Move for adjournment?
So moved.
Hey, we made it by 9 o'clock.
You know what? My wife's going to be surprised, and I'm going to get dessert, so we'll see you guys later.